And we're back, people. We are back. Your favorite sports podcast, roaming the airwaves, rolling with Ramos, is back. I happen to be, as I luxuriously always am, the one that holds the last name Ramos. I like to specifically thank my daddy for that one. Mike Ramos in heaven, I love you, miss you every single day, every hour. Episode 144. You know what? I'm going to just go ahead and count 45. We're not 6 away. 5 away from 150. We make 50 more, Tristan. If we can do it by the summer, we'll be in 200 range. 8 years we celebrated a couple of weeks ago. Can you believe it? OM freaking G. Episode 144, and there's only one way to celebrate 144. Only one jersey to celebrate and pay homage to. The Hank Aaron edition. And you know, Tristan, we got a guest tonight. First of all, how you doing, Chocolate?
It's Friday. Been a long week, a long day, but a good day. But definitely happy to be on here. Like I said, we're almost at the 150 mark, closer to 200, which is crazy, especially for people that do podcasts. Those are big numbers to hit, and it just shows the level of perseverance and consistency. So, yeah, kudos to us for that.
Kudos to us. The weather's getting better. The time is going light. It's a little lighter past 7. We're moving on up. 75 degrees whenever you want to show up. Just hook me up. 80, 90. Anyways, joining us today, a friend, a colleague, a mentor, morning edition host and reporter for KUNC 91.5, all the way in Colorado. As you can see, as he was telling us, the time change behind us. It's 2 hours. It's still kind of light out there. Rocky Mountains. He covers all the rocks. Speaking of the Rockies, the Nuggets, all the sports out there too. Michael Lau Jr., you are rolling with Ramos. Welcome.
It's a pleasure to be on the show, Mikel and Tristan. Thank you for having me on tonight. Yes, I am calling you all the way from out here in the West. And the Rocky Mountains behind me. It's still light out here. It's a beautiful scene. It's a beautiful state. I moved here this is my 3rd year out here, and I'm really enjoying Colorado and what it all has to offer. And yes, covering all the teams. You forgot something too, by the way. I'm covering Coach Prime too now. This will be his 3rd year out here. 3rd year.
Check you out. Check that out.
Coach Prime is still here, by the way. He hasn't left, so there's that. Let me just get that out the way now. Coach Prime still lives in Colorado. He's still coaching the Buffs. He hasn't left.
Shout out to that. Shout out to all your success and all your growth. And if we can get this altitude thing together, we'll be out there.
I come out here to Denver at some point and check it out. It's a nice city out here. You'll like it. Very nice city.
Before we get to the show, again, we don't use props on this show. This is not something crazy we do, but we only use them for important purposes. We had to use it against our friend Al when Tristan, when we spanked that ass in Detroit, and the Lions lost to our Commanders. And we're in a similar boat, you, me, and Tristan, because if you've been paying attention, I know everybody's waiting for March Madness, but if you've been paying attention to the MEAC tournament, as us being Morganites, and the person that's in front of us is a Howard alum, if we want to talk about the battle of the Beltway of the HBCU, shout out to Bowie, but you in the CIAA. We reign supreme, baby. You're out of there. And it doesn't matter what else we do after that. We'll figure it out. Even if we lose, you're out of there. We are the best. What?
I'm so happy you're enjoying this. But just know that you have not won the conference tournament championship yet. So don't get too excited this yet, Miss Thang. Y'all still got a nice little road ahead of you before you can cut down the nets.
In these proportions, we've won for this episode. We're not even going nowhere. We don't use propaganda on this show. But
a win is a win.
Nice.
A win is a win.
A win is a win, but you still have like 3 more games to win before you can go.
Oh, but we beat you. We're here now. We're talking about now. We're talking about now.
Hey, listen, and in all fairness, Howard had a lot of injuries this year. We were decimated by injuries. We have probably one of the players in the country right now. And Blake probably going to be the best player in Howard's basketball program history if he stays around for a few more years. You know, not some petty. You know what?
You hear the violin, Tristan? I can play.
If you lose the next game, you will be here for me quick. So enjoy your little moment right now. But like I said, y'all haven't gotten to the tournament yet. So y'all still gotta get to March Madness. You haven't gotten here. We've been here twice now. Where's Morgan State at? Trying to follow in our footsteps like everybody else does, like Howard, because we always set the bar high. That's why we call the Mecca. The real league too. Tristan, you put up with this every time she's on the show, man? This is what I gotta do with every time?
Hey, listen.
Is this a prelude for what's going to happen the rest of the time I'm going to be on this show with her? She's going to do this every chance she gets.
We have to get it out. We have to get it out the way in the beginning.
Okay, but like I said, you still have 3 more games to win. Y'all beat Howard. Okay, congratulations. But now, finish the job. Because if you don't finish the job, you will be hearing from me.
Well, as we move on, you won't get a chance to actually try to finish the job. So at least we getting there. Anyway, let's leave. This is a family show. We got a family. We can stop. You know, we can stop this. You know, this again.
Okay. Like I said, y'all. Propaganda. But you haven't done much yet. You still got 3 more games. That's why it's called a tournament. You don't win the meetup by beating Howard that won the tournament twice already. So it's like, we got 2 rings on for y'all.
Are you done?
I'm done, but y'all gonna be done soon.
All right, are you done? Okay,
I'm done, but you'll be done soon now. Don't worry.
No problem. If we sit next to you, at least we sit next to you, and you sit by yourself right now.
You'll be playing golf with Howard's golf team and Steph Curry.
Okie dokie. Anyways, after we move on to the NCAA tournament, we got to talk about, I'm in Connecticut. UConn women are already winning the Big East. The fellas taking on Creighton tonight. Can they be on that quest for 3 straight? We will see. But we start in South Carolina with the Gamecocks first. According to Sports Illustrated, several opponents of the South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball team have spoken about the plethora of McDonald's All-Americans, 10 that Dawn Staley has on her roster during this 2024-25 NCAA season. Tristan, there you go. On January 24th, LSU Tigers head coach Kim Mulkey said, "I don't think I've ever coached against a team with 10 McDonald's All-Americans on the roster," after a team was beaten by Staley's Gamecock squad by a score of 66-56. While this didn't necessarily come off as a complaint, what Kentucky had as a complaint, it was a complaint. We're going to just leave it at that. That was a complaint. When Kentucky head coach Kenny Brooks said, when speaking to the media following his team's 78-66 loss to South Carolina on March 2nd, did in the eyes of many fans. They were bringing in McDonald's All-Americans, just seeing which one was going to play better. They were fresh going down the stretch. I think it was 4 minutes to go. It was maybe a 1-possession game, and that really elevated them, Brooks said, per an X post from Airport Team M. Caption, not Kenny complaining about our roster. That Monday morning, Dawn Staley, I love when Donnie from Philly is petty, posted on X video where she's singing the iconic McDonald's jingle, ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I'm loving it. And her caption, "Hey, Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind, Mickey." While it can't be said for certain what Staley's video is referring to, we're going to say all of them. In our culture, is all of them. Referring to, most fans seem convinced that it is a response to what Brooks said about her roster one day before. Staley landed yet another McDonald's All-American recruit named Agatha McCare, the number 4 women's basketball recruit in the ESPN class of 2025 on March 1st. You're the guest on this show, Mike. We're going to start with you first. Then you, Tristan. Hating is a horrible drug.
It's amazing how people hate because you're successful. That's what it is. South Carolina has been successful over the last 3 or 4 years, and they have become now the talk of women's college basketball. You mentioned UConn women. They have been the pinnacle of success for many years. So there's always a room for a new sheriff. And in this case, it's Dawn Staley and the Gamecocks. But like everything else in life, no one's happy unless they're complaining about somebody being successful. And let's face it, Dawn has built that program up to where they're at right now because she's recruited. The players are bought into what she teaches and what she coaches and what she sells them on, and they buy into that, and that's why they're winning. They have a winning culture there. So everybody's going to want to go there. They all want to go to South Carolina now. There was a time where it was Tennessee, UConn, Stanford, and maybe even Tennessee was a bunch of schools where the women's programs were dominant. But now you're hearing more of South Carolina because of what Dawn Staley has built there in the South. And you can't argue their success. Look what they're doing. They're running the floor with everybody. Now, of course, this is March Madness, so anything can happen. But they are still the favorites to win it all and can very well win it all again this year with that roster. And as you said, all these All-Americans they have on their team, they're built to win. So, of course, success brings hatred because they don't like to see you constantly winning. It's like being a team that's constantly winning games, like the Yankees have won World Series titles, or the Lakers, or the Celtics, or the teams like the Patriots that just constantly winning. They just don't like that. There's always a room for somebody to say, I want somebody else now to win a championship. Well, that's not fair to the players that are on those teams because they're used to winning. So don't hate the player, hate the game.
Well, Tristan.
I mean, just like he said. I mean, I try to pull this up real quick just to look at this. Dawn Staley has won a championship in 2017, 2022, 2024. She's led South Carolina to 6 NCAA Final Fours in the last 9 tournaments. Been the coach of the year 4 times over the last 5 seasons. Has led the Gamecocks to 8 SEC regular season championships and 8 SEC tournament titles. Has 10 NCAA attendance titles. I mean, it is the moniker of winning. It's a winning program. So it's not like she's doing something or she has an edge over the other program. Is that her edge is that they win. It's a proven product. So of course you're going to go there. And then let's not only think about the college rank, but look at how the WNBA has developed. Look at her kids that have gone into the WNBA. Right now, one of them who is the face of the WNBA, in Asia Wilson, who just got her jersey retired, has her statue over there. Dawn Staley got her statue put up. So what do you want to say? Like this is how you build programs. It was the same issues that people had with Nick Saban with Alabama. Well, he wasn't doing anything different. He just had a proven product that if you listen to what he does, if you believe in what he's telling you, you're going to have a chance to not only be in the national championship, but win a national championship, maybe win a couple national championships before you leave for school. And then, guess what? You have a chance to be a first-round pick in the NFL. This is the same thing that Dawn Staley's doing over there in South Carolina. You have a chance to play for a championship every single year. And, guess what? You have a good chance. If you really believe in her program and invest yourself in it, you have a pretty good chance of being drafted in the WNBA and having a quality career. So, I mean, it's like, you can hate all you want, but, until you beat them, what's there much to say? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, like, you're saying, you had a bunch of All-Americans. Like, I think one of the quotes was like, well, it's easy to do that when you got a bunch of All-Americans on your team or McDonald's All-Americans on your team. Well, the McDonald's All-Americans want to go there because they know they're going to win. That's really what it is. She's not bribing them. It's not selling them on a dream. It's what is shown. People forget 2017 was the first time that South Carolina won a championship.
And that was the year after UConn ran the table and won it all the year before. And they had 4 players, including Brianna Stewart and a number of players on that roster that went to the WNBA as well. Exactly. So to your point, Tristan, is that people were saying the same thing about the UConn program when Gino Auriemma was bringing them up through the 90s, early 2000s. They were constantly winning. People got tired of it, especially that year in 2016, 2017, where they were just walloping everybody. That team was built to win that year because the margin of victories they had that year were like in the 30s and 40s. Like you knew, no, UConn is going to win because they are that good. Like
They're
no
that good.
program in this country is going to touch that program. And
Absolutely.
that's what Steelers is built at South Carolina. Like now the same thing applies. No one is going to touch this program because they are just that good. Recruiting matters in college sports. That's what this is about too.
Absolutely.
We talk about we don't get a chance that much when it comes to women's sports. We do it a lot in the men's sports because it's a player turned coach. But when you look at those parameters from Dawn Staley, who as a coach, she's a winner, you can see this, but we already know as a player, she's a winner. Talk about those perspectives and how they've been able to transition into the culture there in South Carolina as well. Even down to her, the bada ba, how she responds, bada ba ba ba, I'm loving it. The Philly jacket, the Gucci, like Dawn is fresh.
She is. Well, she's a marketing tool now too in the sport. I mean, think about this. She's not only just leading her team to wins, but she's a marketing tool. And it's a big marketing tool where people are buying into the program. Merchandise is a part of it now. They watch the games on television. All their games just about on national TV now. They are a hot commodity. And that's what they need in women's college sports. They need hot commodities that's going to get eyeballs and ears to listen and tune into the games. And they have shown that every time they're on TV, you look at all the ratings for their games. They're going to the roof now because why? They know that Dawn Staley's got a product that's going to be constantly competing against some of the best in the country, but they're just better than the ones that we constantly talk about. We just mentioned UConn, Stanford, Tennessee, even Notre Dame, even LSU when Angel Reese was there. So these programs have been part of that culture with South Carolina. It's just that they are now a better team because they're like the second coming of UConn, if you will, because they're dominant. They're playing like a dominant program like UConn was for many years. So again, as I said earlier, there's a new sheriff in town in women's college basketball. And Dawn, yes, she's a celebrity because she markets the Philadelphia teams, which helps brand that market out there in Philadelphia too. And think about this, as I just mentioned, recruiting. So she doesn't have to just recruit in state in South Carolina. She's a Philly girl. There's a lot of Philly players that probably would want to come play for Dawn Staley that know we're in that city that want to come all the way down south and say, I want to play for Coach Staley in South Carolina. She's a Philly girl. She's from my neck of the woods. I can ball. Why not? So look at this as also marketing because let's face it, sports is about not just recruiting, but marketing. You got to put a product out there that people are going to buy into, that they're going to support. If you can't do that, then that's your first strike.
Yeah, I mean, especially this current climate of athlete, you can't just do little 1-2 line corny speeches and think you're going to convince them to come to your program. These athletes they know who they are, they know they're good, they know the reason you're talking to them is because they're good, so they're not going to just it's Staley, it's Mulkey, it's Uri Emmett. They're not going to just do that just because of the name alone. You really got to have, they're almost coming at you like, you want to talk, you talking about my resume. Let me see your resume. Let me see if you're worth going and, coming to your program. Are you going to make me better? Are you going to take me to the next level? That's how they're coming with it. And I think with Dawn Staley, the thing I like about her is that she is so authentic. It's so, and it's so unapologetic. It's like, this is like, even in her press conferences, interviews that I watch and see, it's just like, this is who I am. And this is somebody that I saw even as a player, you know what I'm saying? Even in the WNBA, how she was on the USA team, like it has never changed. This is who she is. It's like take it or leave it. But she's so loving. She's so loving. She's so nurturing. Almost got like this mother vibe that you could tell like she truly cares about them like they're her own kids. But because she has that nurturing way in her, she also can push them in a way that other coaches probably can't. She looks at them genuinely like her kids when other coaches look at players as products. How can this player make me look good, make my resume? She cares all about them. That's why people like Asia Wilson, they're always driven to tears when they talk about her because of how she is. We think about the late great Pat Summitt, same way. Look how Candace Parker still talks about her. It's just like they imprint on their players for them to go from years and years to come way beyond their coaching, way beyond being in college. There's still core values that they have from them. Those are rare people to have. Seeing how first of all, and I know we're talking about Don Staley, but I even got to give kudos to Yuri Yemen.
Yeah.
I've never seen Tarazi, and I really had to think about it. I never seen
Get
Tarazi,
emotional with you.
and when I was just like, oh my god! But that if there was ever a thing that needed to prove how much he cares about his players and how much they feel it from him, it was that moment. Because I've never seen her get emotional. I've never seen her get emotional like that, and she was literally like teary-eyed with him talking. So when you see coaches that are that way, you're hating because you probably can't imprint to your players like that. You
Yeah.
probably can't have that kind of impact on them. So don't hate them because they're doing it. And I hope Don Staley continues to do it for years to come. Look at even the beads on the necklace, the ones on the wrist from Make a Wish kids and cancer patients and all that stuff. Like this is genuinely who she is, and it's literally a take it or leave it mentality. And fortunately for us, we're all taking it in.
And she's earned that right, by the way, to flex because she's worked for that. You just
Yes,
mentioned her
she's
resume,
earned
her
it.
career resume. She
She's earned
is
it.
an ambassador to the sport of basketball.
Yes,
So
Yeah.
anything that she has done for the sport and what she's doing now, she has certainly earned that right to flex, if you want to call it a flex. Because guess
absolutely,
what? If you don't like what she's doing, and that's like with Gino Oriema, or like you said, the late Pat Summit. I got another name for you, C. Vivian Stringer at Rutgers. All of
absolutely.
these coaches have earned that right because of their contributions to this sport, which, as we have talked about even off the air, we still have people that just don't like women's basketball. People don't want to watch them. They don't want to watch women's basketball. It's not fun. It's not entertaining. Well, I got news for you. People are watching the game, and it's not just college. You just mentioned the WNBA is getting more eyeballs now. They just had a record-setting year for viewership. And now, with everybody going ready, this next roster of draftees coming in this spring, it's going to get even bigger because now there's going to be even more eyeballs on the sport. Why? Because of the ambassadors like John Stanley, who stays close to the teams, like AJ Wilson, the rest of them, and the likes of C. Vivian Stringer, and the likes of those who have come, even Gino Oriema, because they invest in the WNBA like they do the college ranks, which is a big thing. The late Kobe Bryant was like that with women's sports. He was an ambassador for women's games. He wanted to support the women's game. Those are the kinds of people you want in your corner that's going to support something like this. It's going to help it grow. And not only that, like I said, you get more attraction.
Kobe always ahead of his time. We were robbed again.
We most certainly were robbed.
And he's watching, but he can't see what this league has been. Most importantly, his daughter can't be a part of it. She wanted to go to UConn. She would have been there. Also, she's doing it in Gucci. And to my surprise, I was in the wharf in DC with some friends this summer. Dawn Staley walks right by us like it was normal. She must have been there for recruitment, looking for something, but she was walking like she wasn't Dawn Staley. That was great. Moving on, fellas. And this is where we have to draw the line between personal and professional. Y'all know where I'm going with this because it blew the hell up. I got a lot to read because we gotta straighten and iron out the kinks. But we start with this battle between Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James. Last week, if you recall, LeBron James and ESPN personality Stephen A. Smith, who got a nice big contract, by the way, and that occurred during the Los Angeles Lakers 113-109 win over the New York Knicks at Crypto.com Arena. Please change it back to the Staples Center. I don't care what you're doing.
Great.
It's
Please
always
change
the
that
Staples Center. What the hell is a crypto?
People don't even invest in that stuff anyway to begin with. So why is it even called Crypto.com Arena?
I don't even care what it is. It'll always be the Staples Center to me. LeBron James defended Bronny James. Bronny James drafted out of USC in the second round of the 2024 NBA draft. He has appeared in 18 games this season, is averaging 1.4 points per game, 0.4 rebounds, 0.4 assists per game. Smith criticized Bronny, but ended with, I'm begging you as a father, don't do this to your son. I turned around and he's right here in my face and he says, yo, you got to stop talking bleep about my son. You got to stop bleeping with my son. That's my son. That's my son. On last Friday's edition of ESPN's First Take, Smith acknowledged James was sticking up for his son and seemed to empathize. That wasn't a basketball player confronting me. That was a parent. That was a father. I can't sit here and be angry or feel slighted by LeBron James in any way in that regard. However, Smith had a less diplomatic tone when recounting the incident with Gilbert Arenas. Who can be sensitive when you're talking to Gilbert Arenas? But anyways,
Agent Zero, you mean that guy?
Agent Zero. What changed was how James framed the incident in a brief conversation with ESPN game analyst Richard Jefferson before the Lakers' 111-101 loss to the Boston Celtics over the weekend. According to Smith, audio of that exchange was called. James was saying to Jefferson, once he talks about bleep, I'm pleading you as a father. I can't. I thought that he misrepresented the argument. I was glad he did, Smith added, because what he was really talking about, which was confirmed with the conversation with Richard Jefferson, is that I was talking about him as a father. Had he said that to me, I wouldn't have been thrown off. I would have came right back at him. Yes, I was. Yes, I was talking about you. You did this, bleep. He has recently called everything BS and the approach weak by LeBron James. Things get a little messy. You know things got to be messy if the banana boat got to step in. And Carmelo and Dwayne Wade got to talk about this as well. Wade said, as a father, shout out to 7 p.m. in Brooklyn. Wade said, as a father, he understood James's desire to crash out. That's what the young kids are saying when you spaz it, crash out. To crash out over his son. However, that did not exempt him from criticism for fueling the media frenzy over Bronny that Smith took part in. Bron is my guy, but Bron did put some extra heat on Bronny. What he's referencing is a post from the Lakers star on X about his son from March 6th of 2023 when James said, man, Bronny definitely better than some of these cats I've been watching on League Pass today. At the time, his son was still in high school. Ultimately, he said he loves both guys. You know, Dwayne Wade had to play both sides. The problem with the conversations about Bronny James is there is the conversations about whether Bronny belongs in the NBA or is a legitimate NBA player, and LeBron's part in that and what Bronny's potential is. And then there is where Stephen A took it, which is, I'm begging you as a father, don't do this to your son. That's what made it personal. That was FS1 analyst Rick Butcher. Guys, let's talk. Out of all this talk that's gotten personal, we done forgot that Bronny's a basketball player. But this is what's going to happen when you are LeBron James' son. Tristan, I don't know if you remember, David Aldridge was on the show, and he said to us, where he was just hoping that this is what Bronny wants. We know it's what LeBron wants because he's always talking about wanting to play with his son. But is this about what Bronny wants? First of all, perspectives from the perspectives of as a father, you are one. And two, was LeBron James out of line? Was this conversation taken out of context? We talked last week, Tristan, about how LeBron is a catalyst for the league that he's built. He's the face of it. But he's also part of a league where he's built and it's come back to bite him and haunt him. We're saying he's the one that caused the All-Star break to be what it was, and it's his fault. He can't be in this position being this kind of guy, even if his son's in the league. Now, can he?
Well, first of all, I didn't see Mello's show, which shout out to Mello. That 7 p.m. Brooklyn, that show is great. They're doing some really good stuff. I didn't see the clip until earlier today, and I was so glad of what they said, him and Dwayne Wade, because I think that was perfect to the perfect circumstance. Like they were saying they saw it both ways. I did as well. I think all parties, especially kudos to Stephen A for how he handled it. When he got on the show the next day, I think all parties I could agree with. I can understand LeBron coming to his son's aid as a father. As a father myself, like no one can say anything about my daughter. because I'm gonna crash out. Like I already know. Like you can't, you know what I'm saying? You can't say nothing about Sienna. I will crash out immediately. So I get that. I get that portion. But I also understand Stephen A's portion as well because LeBron, you did, and I was so glad that Melo said it. Was like you did kind of create this storm, especially when you put out there that your son was better than half of the players in the NBA. Like that's a tall order. You have to understand your stature and who you are in NBA lore for you to say that about your son. Then now and then after we didn't really see your son play in college because he had the health issue, and then come into the league. Even the moments that we did see him play, he can play. But when you're saying you're LeBron James' kid and your father is saying that he's better than, you know, half the professional players that's already in the league, your son got to come out there guns blazing. And everyone knew that wasn't going to be the case. Everyone knew that he needed time to develop. And I think everyone kind of pitter pattered around it because it's LeBron James' son. And Stephen A did not say anything wrong. Stephen A said, stop this, point to LeBron, saying, you need to stop this because you're putting an unnecessary light and you're putting an unnecessary target on your son, who really don't say nothing. He's not flash. He doesn't do anything. He goes out there, he works hard. So, like, okay, he had an awesome G League game, right? Y'all called him back up to the roster to go play against Philly, and Tyrese Maxey had his way with him. Like you're setting this kid up to fail. Now, luckily, it seemed like he just got the mental fortitude to do what he got to do. So that's kudos to LeBron and Savannah for raising him the way he is. But what do you want Stephen A to do? Stephen A, whether people like it or not, Stephen A is the face of sports broadcasting. Whether you want to admit it or not, Stephen A. Smith is the face of sports broadcasting. So everyone, whether they like him or hate him, are going to listen to what he has to say. And because of that, he has an obligation to not show bias and look at it straight away of the way it is. He said it time and time again that he's rooting for Bronny. He said it time and time again that he wants Bronny to be successful. But he also said that we have to be fair. Hold on. He also said that you have to be fair and understand that Bronny needs time to develop. Bronny could be a potential all-star and all this stuff. He could. I always pay attention to guards that can play on-ball defense. I think that is an underrated skill where you can go and literally match up with someone full court on ball, not needing any assistance. And he has that mentality. Because of that alone, he'll have a long career in the NBA. Because of that alone. That's why Lonzo didn't get booted out when his father was talking how he was supposed to be when he came into the league. Because until his offensive game really caught up, what did he do great? On ball defense. So because of that, give your son time. But you're coming at Stephen A. First of all, you're coming at him when you're in the middle of a game. One. So even if Stephen A. wanted to come at you, he wasn't about to do that, knowing all these cameras on your floor are staring.
The Knicks, all these celebrities is Los Angeles, is a big game.
Too much of a veteran to do that. Too much of a vet in this game to do that. So he was wise in that juncture. And then he addressed it. He said, I wasn't looking at him as LeBron James, the player. I saw him as a father when he was talking. And that's all well and good. But it doesn't negate the fact that what Stephen A. said was true.
Yeah.
It's true. So, LeBron, you got to look in the mirror. You created the storm, LeBron. You don't see no one else kid. Melo's son is the number one player in New York. You see Melo coming around talking about, oh, yeah, my son could smoke these NBA players right now.
No.
He might think it, but he's not going to say it.
Everybody else's role has been more organic with their sons. Especially in a league where, in a place where you would think that you want to separate a little bit from your identity.
Gilbert Arenas' son is a baller. Kenyon Martin's son is in the league, can ball. Carlos Boozer's twins are upcoming, can ball. I think Bryce might end up being better than Bronny.
Yeah.
But the difference between LeBron and all these other NBA players that got their sons on the come up, they're all letting them take their ride and take their journey. LeBron, you were the one that tried to put him in the forefront. You were the one that kept putting attention on him. You were the one that kept mentioning his name all the time when people were talking about it. People were actually trying to give your son grace, and people were actually being intelligent and saying Bronny is not LeBron. No one was trying to put Bronny the next chosen one. Everybody saw his game and said the kid can play, but he needs to develop. Had he not had the health scare, I'd have been like, yeah, you probably need to stay in college for another year and develop. Like, these are things we saw. No one said he was a scrub. No one said he was a bum.
Yeah.
But he's not you, LeBron. He's not you. You have people like Ron Artest having interviews talking about they played a pickup game with you when you was 16, 17, and you was giving them work. Bronny's not that.
Mm-hmm.
So give your son, let him carve out his own journey, and you be the supportive dad. Even y'all being on the same team, let him stay in the G League and grow and develop, and you do what you need to do as a Laker player. And let Stephen A. and all these other reporters do their job. Do what they're supposed to do. You can't have these guys afraid to critique your son if he's playing on the court. He's a professional athlete. He get a check just like you from the Lakers organization.
And that has everything to do with you, but that has nothing to do with you.
Exactly. So you can't stop them from critiquing. Now, if someone critiques unfairly, I understand that. But from what I've heard, no one's really critiqued them unfairly because no one's saying he's a scrub. No one is really. There's some people trying to say he don't belong, but there's not a lot of people that are saying that. They're saying he needs to develop. That's fair because he does. How many games did he play at USC? He needs to develop. So that's my take on it. What say you, Mike?
You know, these are always hot button topics, and these are always hot topics, and these are always controversial topics because, first and foremost, as a black man, and I know you, Tristan, as a black man, as a father, these are always heavy topics to discuss because, let's face it, fatherhood has always been something that's been scrutinized in the black community for years. Now, we're going to have to talk. Let's have the talk first before I get into the sports side of it.
Yeah. And because LeBron doesn't even know his biological father.
That's where I'm alluding to here. So let's start with that. I think first and foremost, we're talking about two different generations here because remember, LeBron James did not go to college. He came fresh out of high school in an era where the NBA was still allowing high schoolers to come right from high school into the pros. The last player before LeBron did that was Kwame Brown at Glen Academy, right before he went to the Wizards and played with, in my opinion, the greatest player of all time. Don't at me at that. Yep. But you're coming into another era now where there was a time where that was allowed. Now they're letting it so that they have to go to college. They have to play the sport in college before they go to the pro ranks. And I'm not knocking LeBron for being the father to his kid. Because I mentioned that black fathers have enough scrutiny in the world as is because they have the stereotype that we're not good enough for our kids. We're deadbeats. There's all kinds. Trish, I'm sure you hear about this a lot. You know, my father passed away 2 years ago, God bless his soul. And he always instilled the values of being, even though I don't have any kids, but he always instilled that fatherly figure about taking care of business if you have children, because that's your flesh and blood. You don't let anybody, I don't care who it is, mess around with your kids. That's the code that black fathers carry. You mess with my kid, we got problems bigger than just, like I said, we take it to the streets, but we don't, we be a little more professional at this day and age. But as a father, you got to take care of your own. Now, that being said, LeBron was doing what he has to do as a father, and I don't knock him for that. But on the sports side of it, I agree. Stephen A. Smith is the highest paid media personality in the nation right now. That man is the talk of the sports world. It's not Skip Bayless. It's not Colin Cowherd. It's not those folks over there on FS1. Stephen A. Smith is the cream of the crop right now. And everything he says is going to be dissected, whether he's on his show on social media, his podcast, on First Take. He speaks It's like he's the Pope now. Everything he says, they will listen. In this particular case, he had something to say about his son. And you're right. We've all been saying this. It's not just even Stephen A. Smith. People were saying that right from the jump. Bronny James is not ready for the NBA. The man was not even in college long enough to get trained and play at that level. Yeah, he played at the Division I level, but you know how it is when you're coming from college to the pros. It's different.
To your point, Austin Reeves was Austin Rivers. Austin Rivers was saying this.
Mark Spears
has said this. He spoke prior to Bronny coming in. He spoke to recruits, NBA recruits, and was expressing this.
And look what Doc Rivers' son, Austin Rivers, did. He went to Duke and became a star there. And that's why he was able to flourish in the NBA, because he was playing at a Division I level, at a blue blood, where he was able to learn from the likes of a legendary coach like Mike Krzyzewski, who was also recruiting NBA's caliber players to his program that learned the ropes before they went to that next level. So Bronny was not even on a level where he was being coached by the kinds of coaches that you might hear about in like the Krzyzewskis and the Roy Williams and the Jim Calhoun's, or wherever you want to call them out there now, or the Tom Izzos, that could teach him about the ropes of playing college before you go into the pro ranks. So we were all saying that before even Stephen A. Smith chimed in. Bronny, you're not ready for the NBA, bro. You need to go to the development league and learn the game of NBA basketball after you've done spent maybe a handful of games playing at USC. And like you said, before the health scare, maybe if he didn't have the health scare, he probably would have played longer. And like you said, Tristan, he probably could have stayed longer there in college and learned the game a lot more before he went to the NBA or went to the development league. So I'm not knocking Stephen A. Smith. And let's face it, y'all, we have jobs here. That's part of our job. We have to report on things. We have to be sometimes opinionated, and we have to tell the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts. We don't dislike Bronny James. We're just calling it as a skill set thing. It's not even about Bronny James's personality or what he does or how he carries himself. It's about Bronny James, the player. You might be a good person inside and out, and we love that. But this is about you playing at a level where you're making millions of dollars and everybody's watching you, and you're playing against guys who have been in the league 10, 15, 20 years. His father's been in the league for 20-something years, and he's 40-something years old, still playing and not going to stop playing. But if you're going to be playing on that level like these guys are playing, you got to get trained. And Bronny was just simply not ready. And Stephen A. was calling it like it is. Sorry, you can't sugarcoat it. And I know LeBron was upset about him about talking about his son, but LeBron, like you said, Trisha, LeBron, listen, bro, you gotta be honest. Your son, I hope he's not telling his kid I hope not selling his kid on the dream like he's gonna be the next great thing like his father. It's not gonna happen. You gotta learn the game of basketball on the NBA level first, and you have to be trained and prepared, not just physically but mentally, because as you can see, you know, you're playing for a team like the Lakers, one of the league's biggest draws, and you're not playing at your best. The media out there in Los Angeles will cheer you up. Not just Stephen A. Smith. So you're going to deal with constructive criticism. You got to get ready for that too, not just physically, but mentally having to learn how to handle that rigor of just dealing with the taking the good with the bad. And right now, the good is that, yeah, you're LeBron James' son, but the bad is you're not going to be like your father. That's
and that's the picture that's been painted.
Right, like he's got to be just like his father, like LeBron James. And even like with Michael Jordan, his son was like that too. Everybody thought that Michael Jordan's son was going to be like his father. And that's the problem what we have with athletes today, because when they have their kids, they feel like Melo's son's got to be like his father, or Austin Rivers has to be like his, or like the Melo, the Ball family, they have to be like their dad. You cannot expect the genes to transition, because the fact is he came from me, so now he's going to be as good as me. No, you got to train to be on that level, period. Because we all have flaws, and we all have deficiencies. And that's just deficiency. You're not going to be like your father. You're a good basketball player, but you're not great. And you got to get to that level to be great before you can get into that conversation of being a great player. Because right now he's average. Some say he's mediocre. That wouldn't be hard to argue either. But the truth is you're just not there yet, simply put. And Stephen A. was right.
In a world where us as African Americans don't get to participate in nepotism too much, this has been a very beautiful story. LeBron James, we talk at what he's been able to do with the league in its own right, in basically transcending it, while also being able to be the front runner of so many things. Like, it's LeBron. Of course, LeBron James has a son in the league and he's the 55th pick. Of course, LeBron James is doing this. Of course, LeBron James is playing at 40. Of course, LeBron James is still at a high level. Of course, he's on the Lakers. Of course, he's been able to do what he's been able to do. And for somebody else that has lost a father, you never want to lose that ability. Even with your mothers, you don't want to lose that ability to still know that support system is still behind you. Whether you want to take it or not, that innate nature to want to look behind you and know that they are behind you as parents is always important. I think the important thing for us to do, because again, this is another conversation where we're talking about what LeBron James wants. LeBron James wanted his son in the league. He's been speaking about it for a long time as to wanting to play with his sons, maybe having a chance to play with both of them. We're not going to be able to see that. And LeBron wants Stephen A to be quiet and wants the criticism to cut down, and in a media circus that he helped evolve. At the same time, we're speaking about him. I hope somebody finds it in them to at least have some consideration for Bronny, because like Tristan said, Bronny is not talking. He keeps himself. He does his thing. He tries to work hard, and we know the circus, and we can tell that he understands the circus that's around him because he's seen his father deal with this circus. At the same time, if you are allowing him to be an NBA athlete, and this is what you wanted him to do, and this is what he wanted to do, you also have to allow him to go through the growing pains, whether you did it or not. And you also have to allow him to take the criticism. Just because you say something about LeBron James doesn't mean you're hating. He's allowed criticism like others in this league. His son now has to be a part of that conversation. And it does not matter. It matters a lot who your father is, but it does not matter who your father is.
I mean, LeBron was dealing with criticism when he first came into the league. Remember, everybody was saying, we're all going to bear witness to this next up-and-coming player coming out of high school from St. Vincent St. Mary, where he became the talk of the nation. Everybody was talking about, who is this LeBron James kid coming out of high school? And all of a sudden now they're saying he's going to take over the NBA world, which he did. But he was not sure on getting criticized early on in his career either, Mikal. I mean, there were moments when he was with Cleveland where he had some games where he did some things that people were saying, oh, is this your leader? Is this how you want your leader, the face of the franchise, to behave? He made some questionable decisions when he was in Cleveland. People still question him to this very day about the decision, about the way he carried that out before he made his decision to go to Miami. Because some thought, even a lot of people in other circles outside the sports world said, you know, I get that LeBron is the face of the league right now, and I get that he was the coveted free agent that summer, and everybody was vying for his services, and he was going across the country. He was being wined and dined. They wanted this guy, but some thought that might have been a little too bit over the top when he did that special with Stuart Scott about the decision. Yeah. And then he eventually made his decision, and then look what happened. He became public enemy number one in Cleveland. The media trashed him. The fans burned his jerseys. So it's like, LeBron, you know what criticism is all about. You made that decision in 2010 when you went on that national TV show and made that call to go to Miami and abandon the city that embraced you when you were drafted in 2003. And all of a sudden, now you became the villain of this sports world, because let's face it, there were still a lot of LeBron fans, but for some, it was kind of hard to root for LeBron after he made that decision to go to Miami after he left Cleveland, because it's like, well, you devoted your time to you're a kid from Akron, but you're playing for your hometown. And because you were frustrated with the franchises with the team not building around you to compete for a championship. And they did go to that one year. They got swept by San Antonio, but they had tasted some success while he was there. And he gets frustrated to say, okay, I'm just going to leave because I'm not happy here. And then he goes to Miami. And then, of course, the rest is history. But my point is, he has dealt with criticism all through his career, too. So what makes it so that his son is not immune to that same type of criticism?
He's not.
Unlike him. And that's the problem I'm having here. We are all going to be criticized no matter what we do in life. LeBron James has been dealt. People criticized the man in 2017 when they lost to Golden State. Remember that press conference when he got up and walked out? People were talking about that the next day. LeBron James got up and walked out of the press conference without even answering the question because he was frustrated after what J.R. Smith did in that opening game. But again, you're the leader of the team, so you're going to get criticized. You're playing on the biggest stage of the sports world. That's part of the game, my friend. That's kind of like life. No matter how good you are, Michael Jeffrey Jordan dealt with criticism. No player in the sports world, Mikkel, my point is, has ever not dealt with criticism on any level. It's nature of the business. You're going to get criticized. You're going to get called out for your good and for your bad. I understand LeBron's frustrated with the way people have been talking about his son, but you got to understand something. At some point, you got to look in the mirror and say, you know what? That's my son, but I got to develop my son to be a better player, because if you really want to shut your haters up, that's the way you do it. You motivate your kids to play better. That's usually how you do it. It's like anything else. You want to get people to get off your back, motivate them, push them, work with them, grind it out, show them that you can do it, and then let them see for themselves that, hey, you kept putting my son down, but now look at him. I work with him closely during the offseason. I put him around a good support system with coaches and former players that work with him and developed his game a little bit better, and now look how he's playing. That's how you shut them all up. If you want to do anything, just develop him behind the scenes. I mean, hell, a lot of players do that in the offseason. They train outside they go outside the country and go to these offseason workout events and whatnot to get better, and then all of a sudden they come back and look how well they're playing. So there's a way of getting around all this, like doing it that way, and that probably is a better approach, in my opinion.
Well, this is going to be an ongoing conversation. We're going to circle back to LA. Don't worry. But now we take a trip to another part of California. We go to the Bay. It's a clear milestone threshold, Curry told ESPN before he reached 4,000 3-pointers made, a number that I didn't even think about, that it was realistic even from 2,974, which is a number that means the most because that was the record at the time. It's beyond my wildest dreams to push a record that far. As 3 Sacramento Kings players went for the ball, Moses Moody collected it and quickly found Curry after a pump fake, because the 3 always comes after the pump fake. A 28-footer 3-pointer from the right wing, he hit that, becoming the first player in NBA history to reach 4,000 3-pointers at the 8:19 mark in the third quarter of the Golden State Warriors 130-104 victory at the Chase Center. Curry entered the night 2-3 shy of the milestone. He passed Ray Allen's record of 2,973 made 3-pointers on December 14th, 2021 at everything happens at Madison Square Garden, baby. At Madison Square Garden, and has added more than 1,000 to his record. Let's talk about the feat that he just made. And also in a bigger perspective, when we talk about Steph Curry, and also somebody else that has transcended the league in the way it's played personally. Talk about 4,000 3-pointers, but has Curry both revolutionized, and we talk about no lack of defense, has he brought it down a little bit with his ability to shoot like this, and now everybody wants to shoot. But first, let's pay homage to the guy. 4,000 is hard, but it ain't hard for Steph.
No, but they don't play defense in the NBA these days. Let's go there. Let's face it. Look at the average scoring of these games now. Nobody plays defense in the NBA. The games are in the average of the hundreds and up. So there's that. If you want to talk defense, that's not defense. Your job is to play defense. Yeah, you can outshoot the opposition, but you got to play defense too. They're not doing that in this NBA era. That's why Steph is hitting all those shots. They're not letting him go in the paint. You think Steph's going to drive into the paint and try and do some crazy shots? He's going to get knocked on his keys too quick. So he needs to be staying outside and utilizing that outside game of his he's had for years and getting all those points. He's not going to go inside. He's not stupid. And if anybody of his ability to do what he's doing was smart, they would take the same approach. Because, again, they don't play defense now. Everybody just wants to score points and not do anything else now. That's my take on it.
Tristan, Steph, 4,000. What he's done for the league, what also he's done for the league.
I mean, it's just another milestone to appreciate for Steph. I mean, you talking about someone, when you say revolutionize the game, whether some people like it or not, but being able to really stretch your range as far as shooting the 3, from being considered 25 feet being a bad shot, back in the day. Now players getting the green light. if they have the range, that's kudos to Steph Curry, showing that you don't have to be someone looking like you were built in a lab to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
Showing you what actual, skill looks like outside of athleticism. Not to say that he doesn't have athleticism, because clearly he does, but to see someone that really works on the craft of playing basketball, because as much as we, lore about his range, I think what is so underrated is how he moves without the basketball on the floor. That is something to marvel. His conditioning to do it for this long. You always hear the story of Dellavedova having to go and get oxygen after chasing this man
Oh,
around.
he about to be dragged off the floor the way he had him.
Exactly. So it's just a testament to his work ethic, his skill set, his conditioning, his understanding of the game. I mean, for what he's done for the league, letting people really believe that, hey, if I work hard enough, if I put my skills enough together, that I could be in the NBA and I could be a superstar. I don't have to look like LeBron. I don't have to look like Shaq. I don't have to jump like Vince Carter. That's something to behold for sure.
Episode 144, because we on the road to 150. The Hank Aaron edition. Make sure you drop those comments down below. Make sure you talk to us. It's me, it's Tristan, it's Mike. We move on to the Spurs and De'Aaron Fox. San Antonio Spurs guard De'Aaron Fox will miss the rest of the season with a finger injury. Spurs said Fox will have surgery on Tuesday to repair a tendon on his left hand. Fox was injured during training camp in October while he was still with the Sacramento Kings. He still averaged 23.5 points per game, 6.3 assists, and 4.8 rebounds in 62 games total this season. Spurs acquired him on February 3rd, and he averaged 19.7 points, 6.8 assists, and 4.3 rebounds in 17 games with the San Antonio Spurs. Fox had its highest scoring game with the Spurs on Wednesday, finishing with 32 points, 11 assists, and 9 rebounds in a 126-116 victory over Dallas. Spurs expect him to make a full recovery and will be ready for the start of the next season. Mike, we already know that Greg Popovich is dealing with his issues off the court. We know that Wemby is no longer this season. De'Aaron Fox will not be there. How does this impact the Spurs this season? What can we look forward to next season if this is what we're going to get a chance to see all these guys in full speed together?
Well, we see what they're doing right now without Wemby. Now, can you imagine if Wemby was in the lineup right now with the way they're playing? The Spurs probably would be a playoff contender right now if that was the case. So I think we're all looking forward to Wemby coming back next year, really, because they have also said he is going to be the next face of this league. And let's face it, this kid has been playing really well. I got to see him a couple of times out here against the Nuggets. And let me tell you, the way he was playing against Joker, of one of the better players in the league, it was amazing what he was doing to him and how he was able to play at that level as a rookie and the way he was out here showing. And his skill level and for his height, the way he plays, is pretty scary. So after he heals after this injury for next year, I think we're ready to see Wemby coming back. He might be a force, and I dare say this, he could probably be in the MVP conversation next year if he's healthy. I think so, because they're really building that team around Wemby. He's the face of the franchise, so they know that when he gets back next year, he's going to be expected to be picking up a lot of the bulk. Now, as far as Greg Popovich goes, now who knows what's going to happen with him? Whereas that he may not even be coming back after this year. And he's, hats off to Greg Popovich. I mean,
Yeah,
one of the greatest coaches of all time in this league. I mean, his success speaks volumes. You talk about the Tim Duncan, the Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker era. He was with those guys and coached in the championships. Just another ambassador of the game. It would be sad if he doesn't come back, but I think he knows that Wemby will still be in good hands because he has developed Wemby for 2 years now, working with him. So it's not like Wemby's coming to this thing fresh out of college or out of where he's from, Italy, I think he is, and just learning the game of basketball. He has had some experience now working with Greg, and now he's going to be able to take that to another level, I think, next year. So watch out. I think Wemby's going to be in the MVP conversation next year because he's that good, and he is a real deal.
something else we need to talk about with De'Aaron Fox, and that's about his departure from Sacramento. In an interview with ESPN that was published earlier in the month, Just hours before his March 7th return to Sacramento as a Spur, guard De'Aaron Fox said that he warned his former team about firing then head coach Mike Brown prior to his trade to San Antonio in February. I was like, yo, I've been here for going on my 8th year. If Mike gets fired, I'll be going on my 5th coach, Fox told ESPN's Michael C. Wright. And I told them, I'm not going to play for another coach. I'm going to play for another team. After a 13-18 start to the year and in the midst of a 5-game losing streak, the Kings fired Brown on December 27th. Just a day before his firing, Brown had publicly called out Fox for his role in a 1-point loss to the Detroit Pistons. Sacramento blew a 10-point lead with the Kings. Fate sealed after Fox fouled Pistons guard Jaden Ivey on a 3-point attempt, leading to a 4-point play. Many pointed out to Brown's public criticism of Fox as a sign of a frayed relationship between the two, but Fox, days after Brown's ouster, denied there was any animosity between he and his former coach. But as Wright goes on to add, there was certainly some animosity between Fox and the Kings organization. As a star player, exception to how Brown's dismiss was handled. You fire the coach and you don't do an interview, Fox said. So all the blame was on me. Did it weigh on me? No, I don't give a bleep. But the fact that y'all are supposedly supposed to be protecting your player and y'all let that happen. I felt at the time the organization didn't have my back. What do we make of his departure from Sacramento and Mike Brown's departure for that matter?
Bad decision, bad business move. First of all, Mike Brown was named the head coach of the year before this. That's what was even more perplexing. The man was just named the coach of the year a year before all this happened. So you mean to tell me the guy gets coach of the year, and then the next season after a slow start, you can him?
You can hate me now, right?
It's a tough business, but come on, give the man the benefit of the doubt. It was still December, so you're only a month and a half into the season. Plenty of time to turn it around. And yeah, some of your star players are not playing to the best of their ability. But what do you expect the coach to get like Mike Brown? I mean, he's a proven winner, so he's not going to sugarcoat it. And he's probably one of the toughest coaches that you might ever come across because his success speaks volumes, obviously. I just found that to be a very, very questionable and bad business decision for Sacramento. And they were riding high the year before that, like I said. So I still can't wrap my head around why they did that right after Christmas, too, by the way. Merry Christmas, Mike Brown, you're fired. Really? That's not bad business decision, I think. And that's why the Kings are where they're at right now as a result, because there's this little thing you might heard in life called karma.
Yes, we have.
And that thing comes knocking, and it came to knocking in Sacramento, and look what's happening now. Sometimes, what's that saying? You know, what comes around goes around.
It also sucks because we had that conversation a couple before the season when Cat got traded from Minnesota. Those type of teams like Minnesota, Sacramento that you grew up watching and they were good. When they got a chance to be good again and you dismantled the team and let them go, it's unfortunate that now we won't get to see them back in that relevancy. There's something, now when you're looking at Sacramento, De'Aaron Fox and Mike Brown, they're putting them. I haven't seen the Sacramento look good since Mike Bibby. So here we are again, looking at a fact where the Sacramento Kings maybe will have to retool everything again. Tristan, De'Aaron Fox's comments, I know you were listening, about his departure from the Spurs, and we talked about his injury.
So, well, let me first address the Kings organization. My issue with Sacramento is that
say how you really feel, Mike.
They really
they
really mismanage stars that come to their team. It's not like they don't. It's not like they've never had superstars on their roster.
Yeah,
they just mismanage so badly of how to put pieces around them when they're there. And I knew it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. when these guys first get drafted, they try to do what they can. They believe that they're going to be the player that turns the franchise around, changes their fortunes and things like that. But you need to have an organization whose front office has enough wisdom and common sense to be able to formulate the team and the winning culture around said superstar. When watching De'Aaron Fox play, a lot of times where it just seemed like, man, this dude is just by himself trying to make this thing happen, and he was literally the only attraction that you wanted to see at the time. Then Mike Brown comes in, and Mike Brown it's well, no, let's go before that. Let's go with where Luke Walton was there,
Right.
and we're just like, good lord, like this is like what are we doing? And then having Mike Brown, is you see what Mike Brown is doing, and then you seeing that the city's getting into him now, and Malik Monk is actually acting like a professional, and you see De'Aaron Fox feeling revigorated, and you're getting the whole light the beam and all that stuff is going on there, and then you fire him.
And that playoff run, they had given Golden State a run for their money.
A run for their money, and then you fire them.
By the way, yes.
For what? So it just makes no sense to me that you go about your business that way, and then you're almost acting shocked when De'Aaron Fox is looking to be out the door. You think he's these? I need all leagues to understand that these generation of players, this caliber of players, are not about to spend their lives on an underachieving franchise. They're just not going to do it. Now I know outside of the whole Myles Garrett situation, but in general, that's not. They're not going to do it. They want to compete. They want to be competitive. They want to be in the tournament. They want to go for the championships. And if they feel as a front office, you're not doing your due diligence to make sure that you're achieving that, then what good are you? And they're going to take their talents elsewhere. This is the wave that we're in. So I think him and Wemby coming back healthy. I almost think, I don't wish injuries on players, but it's almost like a blessing in disguise, because if it puts them in a better position to get a better draft pick and really be able to fill that roster out, and then plugging them two back into it, man, it's going to be crazy for the Spurs next year. Crazy.
Plus, we live in a win-now society now, too, Tristan. We live in a society where everything is now, there's no more patience anymore. It's like we have to win now. There's no such thing as development or taking time to trust the process or regroup or rebuild. No, it's like we just don't have the time. We want to win now at all costs, or it's win my way or it's a highway. Unfortunately, that's the society that we're in now in all sports. That's the other part of the pressure that got to go to millions of dollars being spent around. You got to win at this juncture, and it's not going to be like, okay, we'll give you a year. No, we need you to do it now, because that's where we're at now.
Speaking of winning right now, speaking of what goes around comes around, and this karma type of thing we're talking about now, as my cat just joins the show. I don't understand. Anyways, we go back to the Lakers in Dallas. According to Bleacher Report, LeBron James, if we're still talking about him, is expected to miss another week with a groin injury. ESPN Shams Charania reported Friday, which is today, on an appearance on the Pat McAfee show. He suffered a groin strain on March 9th against the Boston Celtics, and Charania initially reported he was expected to miss at least 1 to 2 weeks. James said after the team's 111-101 road loss that there was not much concern, and adding that he would go day to day. In his 22nd NBA season, the 40-year-old James has averaged 25 points on 51.7% shooting, 8.5 assists, and 8.2 rebounds per game. The Lakers were in the midst of a 4-game road trip at the time, stretching from March 8th to the 14th. Without James, a shorthanded Lakers have been dependent on Luka Doncic to assume far more responsibility alongside backcourt mate Austin Reeves, Gabe Vincent, and Dalton Net has seen more court time. Luka, as we know today, as the news of the day, he ain't playing in that game tonight. He's not playing against the Lakers game against Denver. The Lakers confirmed Doncic will not play because of the left calf injury. The injury continued Doncic's history of calf injuries, which include the issue that sidelined him for the 2024 preseason and part of the 2022 playoffs. Conditioning and his body and defense were the big key things in this trade that a lot of people said that they didn't like about getting Luka. Let's go to the Mavs. Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, headlining 12 players on Rockets Mavs injury report as their Texas showdown was to take place tonight. They will not be there. Anthony has an abductor strain. Kyrie, we all saw he left with an ACL tear, and we all saw him have his Kobe moment and still go out there and shoot free throws. The response, let's start with the Lakers first. Both of them are not playing now. This is going to be a hard stretch for them to get through without either one of them on the court. When we're looking at this trade, it looked as if the Lakers were going to winning this trade. Still probably looks that way because if you've seen how the Mavs have looked, the Mavs have looked. And they put a lot of stress on Kyrie, and now look what happened, and Anthony Davis hasn't been able to be there. I mean, the guy made one shot, said, "I am here," and then went to the went to the staff, and now he's with the medical staff every day. Anyways, the Lakers are said to win this trade, but can they get this championship? Can they do anything this season if Luka and LeBron can't do well down the stretch? The wear and tear on their bodies, Mike. When we talk about a 7-game series, can the Lakers even survive that? Even with Luka?
You just answered the question, Mikhail. You just answered the $50,000 question. They have to. First of all, what calendar? What month is this? We are in what now? March, right? Right. We have a long. It's March. My point is, we have a long way to go to the postseason starts with the play-in tournament and whatnot. It's March 14th. It's still kind of relatively early to be putting anybody as a front runner right now, even though this was probably the biggest trade that we've seen in NBA history in recent memory. And it does, and yes, at first it looked like it was going to be a runaway steal for the Lakers the way they were coming out the gates when they got Luka. But now you're seeing that age is showing a little bit now because LeBron's out, Luka's been prone for injuries, and let's face it, there's still a bunch of teams, even in the you got to compete with Oklahoma City right now, the best team in the West.
Yeah, who has clinched?
They have clinched already, and they actually beat the defending champions the other night in their building on the road. So right now, if you want to call a favorite, Oklahoma City right now looks like they're the better team because they are the team to beat in the West, unless the Lakers can stay healthy, which is now the $50,000 question part 2. Can they get back to health and get back to where they were before this all happened? Because, it's tough to get back into a rhythm after you've been out for so long. And I'm not saying that's going to be a factor down the stretch, but you don't want to limp into the postseason banged up. Not against teams that are playing at their best, like Oklahoma City or Minnesota, or maybe even sometimes even out here, the Nuggets fans are still wondering why they're not playing well, but they're still a team that could be a force to be reckoned with Joke around here, and maybe with Jamal Murray getting better. So the Lakers still got their work cut out for them. Yeah, it was a great trade. It was looking good until they got this injury bug now. But we're in March, so there's time for them to pick it back up, and maybe by next month or maybe as we go into May, they might be back to where they were prior to this injury situation, and maybe they might be the team to beat in the West. But right now, I just can't call favorite because I see the team in front of them right now is the best team in the league. And here's the other team to that. Say the Lakers do advance out the West and go to the finals. You got 3 teams in the Eastern Conference right now that are just as scary good. I just mentioned the Celtics. Who would have thought the Cleveland Cavaliers would be in this conversation right now?
Yeah, Spidey.
And they are a young and aggressive team, and that's a scary combination when you're playing with teams like that sometimes are playing with house money, that are not really favored and not supposed to be that good, but they come out and just run the table against these guys. So the Lakers might win the West if they stay healthy, if they get back to health status, but you got to beat Oklahoma City, and then you do that, the East's got some teams that are just as loaded like they are.
So to your point, you're just fighting to stay strong while everybody else is getting stronger.
You got to, because that's the thing about that's like in any sport though. You don't want to limp into the postseason on a losing streak because that vibe stays with you. You want to go into a postseason run on a positive note. It's a winning attitude you take with you into the postseason, because if you're going in there on a losing streak, You got to shake that off mentality, that mental thought of losing. And now you're playing a 7-game series where, if you're not even playing at your best, you can be out in 4 quick games or maybe even 5, no matter what. And then, of course, you got to worry about who's mentally ready and who's physically ready. So there's a lot that goes into these situations before we even get to the postseason. How are you physically? How are you mentally? Do you feel like the team is vibing? Are they gelling? Is the chemistry there? Are the coaches seeing that they're ready? So much goes into getting ready for a postseason run. And right now, the Lakers with this injury bug, they now look like they might be probably going down a couple of slots, maybe to the 6th seed if this injury bug stays with them from there. Because let's face it, you don't have LeBron or Luka, you're not winning that many games. That's just it. That's your 2 best players on the team right now. Take them away, that's 50% of your offense off the court.
I agree. The Lakers roster is not a roster of real legitimate, credible depth. So you are dealing with challenges when LeBron and Luka are not on the floor. And even with the struggle, people were trying to figure out, when LeBron was gone and Luka had the 2 games. Yeah, Luka had a triple-double in one game. I think he scored like 40-something points in the other game, but they still lost. Well, the problem is that when you have that 2-man game working with LeBron and Luka, you have both of them able to kind of spell off of each other, and then the rest of the team can focus defensively to kind of shade Luka a little bit. Even though he's playing better defense, he's at least putting in the effort to play defense. But you have the team now being able to kind of protect him in that aspect with having LeBron out there. But now with LeBron being gone, Luka is now the focal point of the offensive scoring, but you still need some assistance from the other players. So you're trying to look for Austin Reeves to do something. You're trying to, you're hoping that you can get something out of some of the other players. Jackson, is not a offensive weapon. He's more like energy guy. You give him some minutes, high energy on the floor, things like that. So you are seeing the weaknesses that we were afraid of. Being if Lakers are all healthy, they can give you a run for your money. I think they can. The way the West has kind of been topsy-turvy this year, outside of maybe OKC, I think they can give you a run for your money. But when they're losing bodies, it's definitely not ideal.
This was supposed to be a generation. Yeah, this was supposed to be a generational predecessor trade. Tristan, I'm asking you the same question that I asked Mike. If it comes down to a 7-game series, when we talk about durability, we talk about Lucas, and that was an issue. We're talking about LeBron. He's father time knocks on the door I used to say every now and again, but it's knocking. It's staying there. It's staying in the front door. If it comes down to a 7-game series, can they survive?
If they're healthy, they can survive if they're healthy.
Okay.
Are we talking about going against like OKC? Or
in general? If they can't win it in 5 and it goes 6-7, will they be able to sustain?
Yeah, because I think you got if healthy, yes, because I think you got 2 of the more clutch players in the NBA.
Yeah.
I will never, especially after the performance that Luka displayed.
He gave his whole body, soul.
Yeah, I mean, so I wouldn't count them out if they're on the floor. If anything, I feel like the Lakers, again, if healthy, I feel like the Lakers are the kind of team that you have to get them out early. I think if you let them linger through game 5, 6, and 7, they'll take you down. I think they have enough of a pedigree to be able to do so. With LeBron and Luka leading, I think they have enough to be able to put you away. I think you have to get rid of them early.
I still say they got to deal with the East teams, though.
Kyrie's injury, the Mavs, the other side of this trade, we went there. How much to blame is that organization for the pressure they put on Kyrie? Did it lead to this?
No, I wouldn't say that. I was watching that game, and I'm really going to chalk that more so that being just a freak injury. I'm not going to say not going to say that they are the reason that Kyrie.
Mike, if you're listening, come in and come back out. I can't see you.
They're not the reason that that Kyrie got that injury. It was a freak injury. I think, and honestly, I know a lot of people are upset with Nico, But I honestly believe that the problem, we have to see this come another season,
Yeah.
because no one could have predicted Anthony. Well, I probably could have predicted Anthony.
You
8, man,
Mr. Whatever you said.
8 every time. But the amount of injuries that the Dallas Mavericks have encountered this year, I don't think anyone could have seen this coming.
Yeah.
Prior
It's
to that
always going to
trade.
look like something if you're comparing because of where he went. Yeah, Luka went.
Exactly. So I think you can't judge it. You can't judge this decision of this trade this year. You have to see how it looks next year when everybody's back and seeing how they are. But the Kyrie situation, it was just a freak injury. I was watching that game. I mean, he just landed awkward. It wasn't like he was exhausted and was running on fatigue, running on fumes or anything like that. It just was a bad. They just got a black cat around him this year. I mean, it was just a bad fall, and I look forward to him getting back on the court.
Speaking of looking forward to getting back somewhere, fellas, it's time to talk about this NFL trade, and I can't wait till next season. Of course, I'm going to be all over the place with this, okay? Because I started to go NFC, AFC, but I couldn't do it. We had some breaking news today. So, of course, because, again, Mike, this is not a show built on propaganda. But we got to start in DC first.
Of course we do.
Of course
we gotta
we
start
do.
with your beloved Commanders. We gotta start with your beloved Commanders.
We gotta start there.
We know this.
What's in? On March 1st, team traded a 5th-round pick for receiver Deebo Samuel and his $17.5 million cap hit to provide an upgraded weapon for Jaden Daniels. What's also in? Pro Bowler left tackle Laramie Tunsil from the Houston Texans for multiple picks. Protecting Jaden Daniels is the key. And it looks like it was the first thing that they wanted to do. While Tunsil commits a lot of penalties, a league high 17 last season, including 12 false starts, he is a 5-time Pro Bowl tackle, including being selected in each of the past 3 seasons. He moves well and is long. We all know about Marshawn Lattimore and that pickup in October. Honorable mention to that Tunsil pickup. I want to shout out Brandon Coleman, okay? You got somebody that's going to help you over there. Now, do we move you to right tackle or do we move you to guard? We're going to figure that out. Hendrickson, I don't know if that's in plans for us now, but that was in the plan for at one point. Who's staying? The OG, Bobby Wagner, running it back one more time. The other OG, Zach Ertz, he's running it back. Marcus Mariota, the other OG, helping Jaden Daniels. He's sticking around. Noah Brown, you staying with us, baby. Out. Big John Allen. It's unfortunate because we took some of his greatest years, and then when we finally got it going, he wasn't what we wanted him to be. But John Allen, he's gone. De'Ami Brown and Zacchaeus. I will start with you, Tristan, but can I start with you? I was going to go, well, let's start with the advocate here. Devil's advocate. Mike.
Devil's advocate. The lone Giants fan in this conversation, by the way, who's hoping that we get Shedeur Sanders next month. I keep saying I hope we get Shedeur as our quarterback, but I'll leave that alone for now. We'll get to your Commanders. How about the pickup you got with Deebo Samuel? Let's talk about that and how the 49ers traded him away for a bag of chips. And the Commanders got a steal, I think, right now. Of the,
that house NFL. Money is housing, isn't
that
it?
Would, yeah, because that means, although let me just say, while the Commanders look very good now, the team you still got to beat right now is the defending Super Bowl champions because they're still the team to beat right now. And as long as they got Saquon running all over the place, it's probably going to be a 2-horse race in that division now between Washington and Philadelphia for that division. I think they might see each other again, probably in the championship game again next year because they're both that good. But I think this time I would give a slight edge to the Commanders because they got Deebo Samuel now. They got somebody that is still healthy, is going to be ready to play. And with Jaden Daniels playing at his level right now, in his second year, he's going to be even better than he was his first year. And you got Zach Ertz coming back too. Defense is looking good. I think this is going to be a very interesting race in the division next year between Washington and Philadelphia. And don't forget, Philadelphia lost a lot of players too. They did some house cleaning recently too, where they lost some good defensive players. So it kind of regressed a little bit, but I still think they're the team to beat. But I think it's going to be very interesting because I think with Daniels playing like he did last year, and now with Deebo, I keep saying Deebo Samuel because I just could not believe that San Francisco gave him up the way they did and got nothing. They got absolutely nothing for that move, for that deal. The Commanders got the biggest, I think, by far the steal right now. And that's going to make them a better team. I think that's probably going to get them over the hump a little bit.
My only thing is everybody's talking about Debo and he's washed, and it was this. You were saying the same thing about Odell when he left the Giants, and see what happened when he went to the Rams and those kind of conversations. I don't want to be put in shoulda, coulda, woulda situations, because when I hear people talking about the gap and Dan Orlowski saying the gap isn't closing between the Commanders and Philly. I hate to say shoulda, coulda, woulda, but when your offense is on the field and they give up 3 turnovers and they're never able to offensively get into sync, which causes the defense to be on the field longer than usual, give or take, being able to protect the ball and not giving away turnovers and points, that game might have been a little bit different for us against the Eagles. Might have been a little bit closer. Not sure about the win, but if it came down to situational football, as it came down to the last game of the season when we played them as well, when it comes to the 1-score possession games, it was Lieutenant Dan versus Sirianni, and could Sirianni outcoach Dan? I wouldn't be so sure. And when you get that Eagles offense in a fast pace against those offenses, the tap dancing. But
I think the home field was a better thing
it.
too. I think if the game would have been played in Landover, it probably would have been a better outcome for Washington, because those fans would have been lit.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. I'm not going to stay there. Tristan, the moves. Are you appreciating them for what they are now? We're still waiting to see what's going to happen on this defensive side, but we're using the picks, using this house money. Again, nobody expected us to be here. So whatever your issues are, we wasn't even supposed to be here. Wasn't supposed to be here last year neither. People want to complain DC. Stop hating. Tristan.
Well, here's the thing. I think because at first I was a little leery about some of the decisions just because of the age of the players. And I'm like, man, what are we doing? Like, why we keep getting all these like old guys? And then my thought process went to, I think that the Adam Peters and Dan Quinn realized, we were in the NFC Championship last year.
Yeah.
We were in the NFC title game, and we got this rookie. What if we put more vets around him and let's see what we can do while he's on this rookie contract? I think he's already thinking 3-4 years ahead. He already knows that you're going to have to pay. If he keeps going the way he's going, talking about Jaden Daniels, the way he's going, which it seems like he will, you're going to have to pay this cat. You're going to have to open up that checkbook. So because of that, we're now in a position where it's like, okay, let's try to load up with as many veterans as possible, people that know how to win, that he can continue to be the young one and have vets around him, and let's see what we could do in these next 2-3 years before that rookie contract got to get dissolved, and we really got to pay this man some serious bread. They're doing everything. You got to think about the Eagles championship against the Patriots. Remember how many veterans was on that team? Okay, I forgot Howie Longson was on that team. You had Alshon Jeffries was on that team. Like you had a lot of veterans because they were capitalizing on the fact that they didn't have to pay Carson Wentz yet at the time that big money. Now, unfortunately, he had gotten hurt, and then the rest of the story with Nick Foles and all that stuff. But needless to say, the what I'm really saying is the fact that they were able to offset the money to put a whole bunch of veterans in and try to make a run for the championship, and then they ended up winning it because they were able to benefit off of not having to pay a quarterback this kind of money. So I think that because we were in the NFC title game, I think that's what they're looking at. To get Laremy Tunsil was huge because we haven't had a left tackle really of that caliber since Trent Williams. Now we're able to make Brendan Coleman either a right tackle, because he did pretty well at left tackle. Like, I would have been cool going into the season with Brendan Coleman at left tackle. Let me be clear. I would have been cool with that. But putting him over in right tackle or putting him in guard, now you really bolstered that offensive line just by that one move alone. Then they just added I think the guard from the Steelers who was solid. So you're putting your priorities where you need it to protect the franchise QB. Debo gives them what I call him a cloud of dust player.
And that stop and go offense that we do and he excels in as well.
Yes, Debo's now going to have the opportunity that you can give Jaden easy looks, easy reads, just pitch the ball out and let Debo be Debo. The thing about Debo last year wasn't the fact that he was washed. The thing about Debo last year is that when you start losing pieces around you and you now have to make him be something that he wasn't planning to be during the season, it's a lot of wear and tear on his body. When he had that 1 year where he was like Mr. All World, it took a toll on his body. And you're asking this guy as he gets older. Remember, Brandon Ayuk was supposed to take a bunch of the load because he had gotten signed and got that big money. Christian McCaffrey was taking that load, so it was getting balanced out. You lost Brandon Ayuk and you lost Christian McCaffrey basically for the entire year. So all the playmaking had to happen through Debo and then Kittle, even though he was playing, Kittle wasn't 100%. So you put all of the weight of playmaking on Debo.
Yeah.
And so that's what made him look like he was washed. I think now being here in Washington, where you got Terry McLaurin, I think Luke McCaffrey is going to take a jump into his second year. You know what I'm saying? I think we're going to see Ben Sinnott, I think, going to do some things. So now you've put Debo in a space where he doesn't have to be the guy, but he's definitely going to be an important piece. You brought back Zach Ertz, so you got him surrounding Jaden with weapons, and you're surrounding Debo with people where it's like, okay, we don't have to count on just you. So I think it's great, and I'm really interested to really see what Adam Peters does in the draft, because the draft is really where he made his name, is finding diamonds in the rough in the late rounds. I know we gave up a lot of draft capital, but we still have some. So I'm looking forward to see some moves and some shifts and trades that he does.
We talk about Jaden. How important is Debo for Terry?
Oh, he's absolutely important because now Jaden's Debo's gonna do all the dirty work. That's really what you want. You have to pay attention to Debo. The thing about it, like last year, De'Ami Brown was serviceable and Zacchaeus was pretty good, but I think they all benefited off of people paying attention to Terry.
Yeah.
They all benefited from that. Now Terry's going to benefit off of people paying attention to Debo. Because you got to watch, because you can put Debo anywhere. So attention has to be brought to him. Because you can put him anywhere on the football field. And the next thing you know, you're worrying about Debo going into motion. And
touchdown.
Now all the Debo moving. And next thing you know, Jaden can just shoot a bomb at Terry because we're like, oh, shoot, we forgot about Scary Terry. Like, that's what I'm envisioning is going to happen for this offense.
We move on. Hey, Mike, I see you. Anyways, we move on to the breaking news of the day. Apparently, guys, everybody wants to play for the Seahawks. I was a little worried because I didn't know what the hell was going on in Seattle. But no more Tyler Lockett, no more DK Metcalf. You know, Jackson Smith and Jigba was out here posting Will Smith when the show was over with Fresh Prince. Like, damn, what am I going to do? Now he got somebody with him. Former Super Bowl champion MVP Cooper Kupp and the Seahawks today reached an agreement on a 3-year, $45 million deal. Back to Washington he goes, to the state of Washington. As we know, he's an Eastern product. So much for the Cowboys. We'll talk about them later, who were supposed to be a sleeper team to get Cooper Kupp. Sam Darnold, they got a new quarterback too. 3 years, $100.5 million, 55 included. How do we feel about the Seahawks? They also got a big defensive guy in DeMarcus in Lawrence, but we'll talk about that. In DeMarcus Lawrence, but we'll talk about that later too. By the way, that was $42 million for 3 years with $18 million guaranteed. He goes to the Seahawks from the Cowboys.
On Tuesday, I had no idea what the Seahawks were doing.
No chance in hell, right, Mike?
No. I was like, what are they doing?
What are they doing?
What are they doing?
Today, I'm like, oh, y'all look like geniuses. Like, I'm like, oh, I didn't know this is what y'all had in mind when y'all were doing what y'all was doing.
But it remains to be seen now if it's going to work. They might look like geniuses right now on paper.
On paper.
That's the most important thing, as you know. It looks good on paper because it makes them look better. But what will the product look like when they take to the field in the fall? That's what's going to make them wonder. That's what's going to be the truth telling them if they're geniuses or was it something that just they thought was going to work, but it backfired.
I think if Kenneth Walker is healthy, because I think that's going to be key. We got to see what they do, because I think they need to improve their offensive line a little more.
Right. That's what I'm saying. They got to build around them and get, and especially the draft, and then maybe the free agent market. Maybe they'll get some, maybe a couple more players. But again, smart. But you just said they got to build around them, and then you got to see if it's going to work ultimately come the fall.
Absolutely.
Vikings let go of Sam Darnold. They decided that they weren't going to pay him. Is this an actual spot for him? Seahawks.
Yeah, he could flourish if he can replicate anything that he did with the Vikings last season. I know this coach was his can't remember if he was a QB coach or OC in San Francisco when he was a backup, so they are familiar with him. But if he could replicate anything remotely to what he did in Minnesota, yeah, this will be ideal for him. I mean, I think he's only what, 28?
Yeah,
young. Like he could literally have a whole back half of a career from what it's been thus far. So absolutely, this will work. And Minnesota, I figured Minnesota was going to do this because they believe in JJ McCarthy, and JJ McCarthy was looking good before he got hurt. So I think they're hedging their bet on him to come back and still be productive.
let's go back up the 95 corridor, shall we? Hey, Mike, offensive depth chart for the Baltimore Ravens: Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, and now DeAndre Hopkins. 5-time Pro Bowler wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins reached an agreement on a 1-year, $5 million deal with the Ravens. Still in all, Mike, they add to the Megatron list again, but the Ravens still have this inability to get it done. They shoot themselves in the foot, it seems, every year. Can they get it done now with this extra guy?
I think now, and I'll tell you what, I think now, and especially with the contract that Josh Allen just signed in Buffalo, I think this is going to motivate them even more now to get the job done. Because now they've heard about, we've seen it the last few years, Lamar's got into that next level, but as you just say, for some reason, he just cannot get over that hump. I think this is the year that they will. And I think they are going to take down the likes of Buffalo or Kansas City or anybody else out of the AFC that's in their way, because this is extra motivation now. They're building. They've seen it. The media has constantly talked about it. I mean, you can't put this all on Lamar Jackson either. I mean, he didn't drop the two-point conversion, by the way. That wasn't his fault. I know they want to make him the villain right now, but that's not fair to him. And it's only because he's just been in that position many times now, and he hasn't gotten over that hurdle. But I think this is the year now with the additions that they will do it.
You can't blame Lamar Jackson, and I'm not saying the rest of the league is mediocre, but you can't blame Lamar Jackson because he's just that damn good, and everybody else can't catch up to him. He still put them in a position to win that game.
Position to win that game. That's not his fault. He didn't he didn't drop the 2-point conversion. That's not his fault. That pass was pinpoint perfect. That was the perfect pass he thrown all game, really. Aside from the 3 interceptions he had, that was probably the better throw he made that night, and that was right there. So that's not on him. I know people were trying to pinpoint that, and some of our colleagues, Mikkel, were talking about that on social media after the game. Lamar Jackson he choked again. Like, no.
I thought he made a better performance as far as getting himself back together. Prior to that, the whole game would have went down the trash.
Yes,
but he got himself together. Yeah, he got himself together and still was able to push them in a position to win that game. They're going to need a new kicker after this season, but that's another story. Anyways, who the hell knew? You missing all these kicks, and that's what you was doing. Like, you took Deshaun Watson's whole swag, bar for bar. Shout out to bar for bar. Drake. Shout out to Soulja Boy. You took his whole stilo. Anyways.
He's watching you.
Tristan. DeAndre Hopkins, when he first was on the radar to be traded a couple of years ago from Arizona, a lot of people were saying he doesn't have it anymore. He's washed too. We use that word so so big for a lot of reasons when we shouldn't. They were saying he was rushed. He goes to the Titans. Everybody is like, huh? Why would you want to go there? We get the money, but why would you go there? And now he's at the point of his career where he's going from one Super Bowl contender to another. Are these moves too late? Should he have done this the first time? And what do we make of his time with the Ravens now? Will he get one?
Yeah, I wish he had did this the first time, for sure. And to be quite honest, this seems, I hate to say it because it's going to sound disrespectful, but I don't know the other way to say it. It's really much to do about nothing. Because
it's a last cry.
Not even a last cry, is because this is a rare thing where I really can't pinpoint what the Ravens need, but I don't think it was a wide receiver. Like, it's just one of those, like, I don't know what.
You've spoken on that. Like, what else do y'all need over there? You got the defense, you got the offense.
I don't know what else you could do because, again, like,
they got to get out of their own way. I think that's just what it is.
That's really what it is. Like, Mark Andrew dropped the pass. That, like, it's just like, I don't know. I don't know what else you could have done. Defensively, they were not themselves last year. So maybe if there was like a defensive move, like getting one of these pass rushers, like if somehow like Trey Hendrickson somehow ended up on the Ravens or something, then I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe a pass rusher probably would have made me kind of raise my eyebrow a little more. But other than that, this just seems like much to do about nothing. Like I said, because the wide receiver wasn't the problem. The man threw 40-something touchdown passes. So that wasn't the issue last year. I mean, so yeah, I don't know. They gotta stop beating themselves. They gotta stop beating themselves. They shoot themselves in the foot. That's the hump they got to get over. It's a mental thing.
Fellas, and Howie, do you trust? But when I say this, the Eagles because we've been here before. Because when I say this, the Eagles defense now has lost Josh Sweat. He will sign with Arizona. Milton Williams will sign with New England. Isaiah Rodgers will sign with Minnesota. Darius Slay is expected to be cut. James Bradbury expected to be cut. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he goes to the Texans in exchange for Kenyon Green in 2026 fifth round pick. Jesus, do you believe anymore in Howie, Mike?
I do. But again, we'll see what it all. I mean, all these moves sound well and dandy, and that's my point of this whole conversation, y'all. They all sound great, and we've talked about this at nauseam before. We all say, "Wow, look what they're doing, and look what they're adding." But I want to see the product when it comes time for them to play on the field, because it could all just be a waste. I mean, I would hope it's not, but it sounds like they're making a long-term investment here with what they're doing. So you hope it is going to work out. I'm just a little suspect because I hope it does, but there's always that possibility that maybe it won't.
There's not an what'd you say? I'm sorry.
And maybe it's not all. Was it worth it then? Is what they're going to be asking themselves later on if it doesn't work. Was it worth it?
Speaking of worth it, you always give me these nice words for segues. We got to go to we got to go to Texas, okay?
We do.
Tristan, your thoughts on the Eagles? I'm sorry.
I mean, like you said, and how would we trust? I mean, yeah, I understand the losses that they have, but have we looked at the roster?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Okay. Look at that roster.
Have we looked at the roster? I mean,
the roster.
They could afford to let them go. It's like, if anything, they're probably saying, "Hey, you're welcome, guys, because y'all got paid. You're welcome." Like,
that was a benefit of the doubt. That was the only thing that came out. That was good. They got paid, basically. Yeah. That was probably the only good thing that happened in this. That they got their money.
That roster is loaded, man. I mean, they have a chance to run it back for real.
I don't know if this team is going to run it at all. We go to Texas.
Saquon's going to run. We know that. Saquon's going to keep running because he's got a lot of money to show.
I'm not talking about them.
We know that, but you can't. By the way, let me just add a little point there. I think that Saquon should have been the MVP this year. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say about that. Yeah. Not Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Just my personal opinion on that.
And Lamar Jackson should have got something.
Saquon was the MVP this year because and that's why he got paid like an MVP should get paid.
Well,
that's what we didn't do with the Giants.
Running backs that. Dickerson only got it because he had the record.
Josh Allen
Granted,
was like, here, man, here. That's what it was. That's what the MVP was. It's like, here, Josh, because they knew you had to give it to him at some point because more than likely Lamar's going to be in the run for it next year again. Saquon's probably going to be in the run for it.
Get this though. You gotta get this.
You got to get that.
You gotta get that. That's the next step for Josh Allen. You're getting paid. You gotta get one of these. That's Saquon.
all the talk we have about Lamar Jackson, you got to have the same.
You gotta get one of these now.
Josh Allen. They in the same damn boat, whether y'all in Buffalo want to believe it or not.
Simply put.
So, I don't know.
Somebody in the comments section just said, Patrick Peterson just said, Saquon hands down should have received the MVP. Absolutely.
Well, I think it's just the issue that people have, that the league has with running backs. We're not going to give it to him unless he gets the record. Speaking of records, he would have had it, but you know what game stopped him from having it? The game against the Commanders. Because the first half, we was giving it to him. The second half, we was able to stuff it.
That is all irrelevant now because he has this on his finger.
It is all irrelevant. I get it. Because he could have been an MVP, could have had the ring on his finger, he could have had all these things, but it's only relevant. It's only relevant because people say he would only get it if he got the record. Because Dickerson only got it when he got the record. Speaking of broken record, Michael Parsons' reaction to the news of the Commanders trading for Tunsil, Tristan, WTF?
Because Tunsil gave him fits when Dallas played the Texans. Tunsil gave him fits. Go look at the stats. So he knows I got to do what to do twice a year. Yeah.
They lost the war to Cooper Kupp. Chris Canty on Get Up. I had to leave the Dallas Cowboys to win my damn championship. He's siding with DeMarcus Lawrence because now DeMarcus Lawrence and Michael Parsons have had words. Lawrence, I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl here. Michael Parsons, this what rejection and envy look like, exclamation point. This some deep clown bad word that we're not going to say. Lawrence, maybe if you spent less time tweeting, everybody coming at this man podcast, less time tweeting and more time winning, I wouldn't have left. Jerry, what are you doing out there, Jerry? Are you going to make a move at all? We waiting for the Cowboys to make a move. They ain't done nothing yet. Everybody went everywhere else. At the face of this franchise, Mike, when we talk about Michael Parsons, I wasn't a fan of him walking off the field before the game was over. That whole organization from the top down is not used to losing. So then when they lost last year, you saw that kind of mentality. Can the Dallas Cowboys turn it around this year? Or are we going to have another year of this whole snowball effect and drama played out in front of us as it does all the time with the Dallas Cowboys?
Before we get to that, Michael Parsons said, let's rewind this a little bit to what actually happened a few months ago, because I was out here working this story when everybody was looking to hire Deion Sanders as the coach for a team. First it was the Raiders. That fell through. And then, of course, he had the conversation with Jerry Jones, and everybody thought, and I saw this all over social media and Twitter, that they swore to it. Even Cowboys fans were swearing to it, that Deion was going to leave from here in Colorado and go to the Cowboys and work for Jerry Jones. And I kept saying to everybody, that's not going to happen, number one. Why? Because Deion, first of all, not to get off the topic here, but Deion loves it here in Colorado. He's building a program out here where he just had a Heisman Trophy winning player. Now it's going to be probably the number one overall pick next month. He's got a culture that he's building here he enjoys. He loves being in charge. He's not going to let somebody like Jerry Jones tell him how to run his football team. And Deion did say he does not want million-dollar athletes telling him how to do his job for a league that he spent 20-something years in and won 2 championships and became a Hall of Famer in. So why was Deion going to leave from here to go coach for a franchise where he's not going to be in charge of the personnel? Deion's building his staff of players and team and personnel here at Colorado. He just hired Marshall Falk for a position out here. So there's that. He's not going to want to hear what Jerry Jones wants to say about how to build his team. So I knew that was the first casualty, if you will, for the Cowboys.
He damn sure ain't McCarthy, and he damn sure ain't Jason Garrett.
No, but the point I'm making is that Deion does not want anybody to tell him what to do. That's why I said he's not leaving Colorado. He's not going to the NFL. I know that he wants to follow his sons there, but he already said he loves it here. So that was the first thing that the Cowboys got, that they screwed up big time. And then once that happened, they hired somebody that was like, who is this? They went from what they thought was a Ferrari to a Pinto in terms of their new head coach, because they thought they had Dion in the bag. They got somebody that really didn't have as much experience coaching, and they had to get somebody. So they got their coach now. But here's the other thing to that side of the story, y'all. You just got Dak Prescott all that money. So why in the world are you going to try and draft another quarterback and move up the ladder? And what is that going to say for Dak? And then for Micah Parsons, it's like you're spitting in their faces, really, what you're doing. But that's just what they say about Jerry Jones, the owner. He's like the George Steinbrenner of the NFL. He's calling the shots, and it's his franchise. He's going to do whatever the hell he wants. We don't agree with it, and that's probably why fans are saying that. When is Jerry Jones going to retire so that somebody can take over that franchise and maybe bring that winning culture back? Hell, maybe Jimmy Johnson, who just retired from Fox, will go back and take the job. I don't know. He did sound like he wanted to be a motivational coach last year when they lost
all on TV. You got it, Jerry.
He was all over TV talking like he was going to coach the Cowboys after that loss to Green Bay last year. So maybe they need, they got to shake things up a little bit. But in terms of Micah Parsons, you know what? It's going to be the same story with the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to probably be a good team in the regular season, maybe make the postseason. And then what happened? Somebody said this to me one time on social media. Cowboys fanning in the postseason, a tale as old as time. It doesn't change. The last time they won it all, I was a freshman in high school. The last time the Dallas Cowboys won the Super Bowl, that was in 1995. That's how long it's been since the Cowboys actually got to the championship. And the way they're going right now.
Let them tell it was yesterday. They still hoppering off.
No, and we got a lot of colleagues, Mikkel and Trish. They're out there. They always taunt. They always boast them up like, oh, we're America's team. Okay. Well, America's team has now gone almost 30 years without championship. So how many more years is it going to take before y'all get a championship?
Or a conference title
or a conference title game. Or even
we've been there.
Yeah, y'all been there. It's like you can talk about what has changed in the hands of time since the Cowboys last won it all in 1995. And that's the thing the fans are just saying, when does the futility stop? It's not going to stop. I think it's going to get even worse now. Dak got his money, great. But what does that mean? They don't have a running back. Ezekiel's gone now. They cut him loose. He wasn't going to do much even though they brought him back, but he's gone. So they still got to build up in order to be a contender. And right now, they sure as hell can look like a contender in that NFC East division where now it's a 2-horse race. And so, Peter Patrick just said in the comment section, as long as Jerry Jones is the GM, they will be bad. Thank you.
The upper room when G.
I'm just saying, he's going like he sees it. And everybody that's a true Cowboys fan knows that. The man's too old to be an owner, and he's showing it each and every time he's making these boneheaded decisions. They were swearing they were going to get Dion. But I was like, no, you're not getting Dion. Not happening. And you gave Dak Prescott all that money. You're going to trade. They were actually going to trade up 6 spots. They're not even among the top 4 teams in the draft to get a quarterback. And they were actually going to trade up to get Shador. It's like, how are you going to jump 8 spots up to the top 4 to get a quarterback that you don't even need to use?
Looking like Ray.
I'm just saying, though. It's like, I'm just like, do you even all know what y'all doing? That's what I mean about the Dallas Cowboys. What are you guys thinking? Who is telling you these things? What is your major malfunction here with y'all the way you're running this franchise?
They interns. Anyways, to finish this show.
I'm just saying.
To finish this show, fellas, the last part of this. Unless Tristan, you don't want to talk about the Cowboys? The hell with them, right?
I was just shaking my head because it just sounded like a sweet symphony coming out of my mouth.
They wanted Deion Sanders for a head coaching job. That's what they were gunning for. They really wanted Deion to take that job. They did. That was a hot topic for a few weeks around here, and they were all wondering if he was going to leave. And I kept saying, no, he's not. And I'm glad, because you think Deion wants to listen to Jerry Jones, tell him what to do. You want to talk about drama? That would have been even more drama if he had taken that job. Can you imagine the storylines would have been going on out there? The Cowboys are losing. Deion Sanders, the head coach, he's got to now fan the flames out there with Jerry Jones and all the stuff that's going on around that franchise. Could you imagine what those Sundays would have been like? ESPN would have been leaning off with a story every morning about the Cowboys.
Every morning.
And you know that. That's the bias.
And their ratings are bigger when they talk bad or good about the Cowboys.
They know this. They know
I know. I've been there.
You've been there. And I worked there. I know this.
You've been there too, yeah.
We know this whole biasing about the teams they cover and they talk about. They were saying, oh, we don't talk about the Lakers. Yes, you do, because you talk about LeBron, you talk about the Cowboys, you talk about the Yankees, you talk about the Dodgers now, you talk about all the blue blood teams that make all the money. That's what highlights the show. That's the ratings. That's how they play the game. You and I all know this. That's part of the media business. Let's not even go there.
That's right.
Let's finalize it. Let's figure out what the hell the Steelers are doing. They get DK Metcalf. Hopefully, him and Pickens can get along. That's going to be funny. I hope he took some time, George Pickens, to work on his anger management. A whole Hail Mary going on in the end zone. You want the best wide receiver on the team that's doing it, and you fighting with somebody in the stands. What's going on? Anyways, DK Metcalf is now a Steeler. Shout out to him enormously. I love Black Love. And Russ may be out the door. Thought he was going to be the guy. Justin Fields is gone now. Does anybody really care that Aaron Rodgers wants to stay in this league? We're in the same situation we were last year. Is he going to go back into the hole, whatever the heck that was last year, where he became a hermit and made a decision? What are the Steelers doing?
I don't know.
I don't know, but isn't Russell Wilson still the quarterback there in Pittsburgh?
No, he's a free agent. They're talking about it.
He's going to talk to the Browns.
They should sign
I don't know why he's going to do that.
I think he wants to talk to the Giants today.
Pittsburgh.
He's supposed to be talking to the Giants today, too, Mike.
I mean, the smart move for them.
I want Shador. I already said that at the top of the show.
I think Shador would be ideal because it will give Mike Tomlin the leash he needs. Because if you go into this season with any other solution, you gonna get in trouble. And I'm saying it right here. Tomlin will be in trouble. You go into the season, your quarterback situation is this, and it's not Shador Sanders wearing the black and gold.
How are you gonna get Shador Sanders though when he's supposed to be a top 4 pick though? And Pittsburgh's not even a top 4 pick.
He's not a top 4 pick.
Well, they're saying that Shador could be among the top 4. Him and Travis could be 1 and 2, maybe, or maybe 3 and 4, 2 and 3.
Nope, had to be Cam. Cam is going to be up there. The reason why Shador, and I said this on my other show, the reason why Shador is not going to be that is because of this. When the Raiders did what they did, that was the one spot where I was like, if there was a chance for him to be top 4, it was with the Raiders because of his relationship with Tom Brady. Shador Sanders is a throwback pocket passer. Dion trained him to be more of the Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Matt Ryans of the world, things like that. The ones that have it from the neck up. But he doesn't. We've been so spoiled over the last 10, 15 years with having these freak athletes as quarterbacks. Big arms, big bodies, super athletic, can run, jump, do whatever they want. We've been spoiled by that. That's why Cam Ward is getting the love that he's getting. In the long run, I think Shador Sanders is going to be the better quarterback out of this class because of his intellect and how and his bravado, how he carries himself. He already carries himself as a professional quarterback.
Yeah. And I should know that, having covered him out here in Colorado. That's how he always carries himself.
So I think in the long run, he's going to be great. What I'm afraid of for him to be in the top 4 is the fact that he goes to one of these franchises that has had a history of not protecting their quarterbacks, and he doesn't have enough God-given physical ability to overcome that. Unlike Cam Ward could probably physically overcome some stuff for a while if he gets drafted by the Giants or the Browns or whatever, and get while they get themselves together. I don't think Shador does. But I think the Steelers worked because of how that organization is run. You give him a chance to be patient. Now you got DK, you got Pickens, you got what's the tight end? Booth? I can't remember his name, something like that. You have weapons where he can now be groomed properly in that organization under a stable head coach, stable ownership, and Steelers fans would be patient and watch that transition and flourish, and I think in the long run he'll be good. But I don't think he's top 4 because he doesn't have the physical wow gifts, and he didn't have the physical wow moments that you say, oh, I want that. It was the problem I had with the Colts taking Anthony Richardson when they took him early. because I watched him at Florida and I said, okay, yeah, he's a physical specimen, but he probably needs to go back to school. Like he ain't ready to play NFL QB. And now you see him and Daniel Jones they're gonna have an open competition down there in Indianapolis. Like those are the moments that I look at that I'm afraid of. I don't want Shador to be in that situation.
Any last words, Mike?
I was going to say that even though that is some very valid points there, Trish, but you got to remember who Shador Sanders' father is. And he has already said, and he's trying to pull what we did in 2004 when Archie Manning did not want Eli to go to San Diego, forced that trade that brought him to the Giants. And as you know, the rest is history after that. So as long as Deion Sanders has a say in where his son plays, and he has already stated publicly on the record, certain teams, he hasn't mentioned the teams, but you already know he wants his son in a big market like New York or Vegas, but it looks like he wants. I mean, he wore some cleats to a game out here in Colorado. At Colorado, I think it was the last game of the season against Oklahoma State. He actually had Giants cleats on. Like he was already showing that it was almost a given that he wants to play in New York, and I think his father would rather him play in a bigger market like in New York, where he's going to sell tickets, his jersey. Fans like me going to buy his jersey. He's going to get people watching the games.
All right, Jersey boy.
Well, listen, Jersey's strong. Anyway, he's going to be there to market the team because they need somebody to market the team. They have really nobody right now. Their head coaches right now have saved their job is saved. I just hope Wellington Mara plays his cards right because we have known to make some crazy mistakes. Like we let it. I don't even have to bring this up, but because of it, I have to. Saquon left because the wrong person got the wrong money. Daniel Jones should not have gotten that money. That should have went to Saquon. That's why partially Saquon got out of New York. And we paid the price for that. Here now we have a chance, Tristan, is what I'm saying is that we have a chance as a franchise to redeem ourselves, to get in a high-profile player like a Shador, who can come in there and probably turn things around. Yeah, he may not be physically ready yet, but I'm sure his dad's going to make sure he's ready mentally, though, because, first of all, you're going to play in a city like New York where, the media is as hardcore as anywhere else in the country. So if he's going to come play here, mindset's got to be, you got to be ready to come out here and win. And they're not going to be expected to come out here just to win 4 or 5 games. You got to come in here and maybe just play your best football and try and get this team back to contention status.
So for the Giants, I'd be nervous about the offensive line for sure.
Oh, yeah, because we don't have an offensive line. That's what I'm saying. They got to work this trap and get because he needs protection. And we saw that out here with Colorado when Shador was playing last year and even this year. He had no protection. That's why he was running for his life. And that's why last year he took that many sacks. And as a player, he's got to learn not to take those sacks in the NFL because they will kill him if he doesn't get rid of that ball in the NFL. He was getting away with it in college, but now he's got to be a lot more sharper with getting rid of the ball and making smarter plays and not just take the loss. Don't take the loss down, but just get rid of the ball and don't take the loss of yardage because he was doing a lot of that.
Yeah, but hopefully everything else off the field. I'm sorry, Mikkel. Everything off the field as far as like being a franchise QB. If I had to pick a quarterback to represent New York to try to get it back to its prominence, it'd be Shador Sanders all the way.
The Giants have a lot of redemption to do, don't they? I mean, they also gave up Daniel Daniels last year.
That's why I think it's going to be like a 2004 edition again. It's going to be Deion's going to make the move and say, I want my son to play for the Giants, just like Archie wanted Eli to play for the Giants and not another team, because they're going to flourish better there, I think. That's what I'm hoping anyway. I don't know what the Mara family's doing, but that remains to be seen.
Like the fact that Joe Shine, how you say his name, the GM, Joe Shine. The fact that he survived that season without getting fired is a little.
No, the fact that our head coach survived that season without getting fired because he was rumored to be on the outs, and I think that's what was surprising is that they kept him around after this disastrous of the season. You have players walking off you have players leaving. Tommy DeVito was not going to be the savior. I don't care what everybody says about him. I'm like, no, he's not. He's a third string. That's why he was a third string quarterback. And look what happened to him. He got banged up and he was down. He was out too. So no.
So and I'm sorry, Mikhail, because I know we're trying to close this out, but I'm curious because
I'm fine.
I'm talking to a Giants fan with intellect, so I got to ask the question.
Not with intellect.
Listen, excuse you.
Listen.
No, I'm commenting on him. Who you been talking
right now?
to?
You're not a Giants fan. You're a Commanders fan.
I'm talking to Tristan and asking who he been talking to that doesn't seem smart. We know Mike is smart, but where you?
A lot. So I got to ask these questions because I know Mike is intelligent. in regards to Daboll's situation, because I've had a lot of people. I'm not one that feel like Daboll's job should be on the line. I feel like Daboll was put in a horrible position as a head coach
I don't think so
because of
either.
what Stein did with this roster.
Right.
In my opinion.
No, I agree. Because Dabo is a great coach.
I mean,
the first year he was there, the first game, his coming out party was that first game last year against Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
When you went for it and they won the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's a gutsy call for a first-year coach in a market like New York to go for against a team that was built like Tennessee and on the road, by the way, and won that game.
Mm-hmm.
That's when everybody said, okay, well, I think we found our head coach now. Because now we have a head coach that wants to win and has a mindset of making his players want to play to win. So I agree with you. It's not the Dabo is. It's not about Dabo. It's the fact that they don't have a roster now, and they got to really get this roster back. That's why I think that they need to draft Shedeur to get some respectability and some credibility back. They got to get an offensive line. Their defense has gotten a little bit better, but we need. All right, we need a running. We need a tight end. We got a lot of issues as a franchise still, Tristan, to address. But I really think the first step in the right direction would be getting our quarterback. The most important position in football, as we all know, is that position, the quarterback. Mm-hmm. And we need somebody to market that team. And Shedeur would be the guy I really think should be there to do that. And if not, then maybe what the other one you were talking about? What was his name?
Cam Ward.
Cam would be a nice addition too if we don't end up with Shedeur. But we definitely need a quarterback. The New York Football Giants need a quarterback right now. We don't want Aaron Rodgers. I don't even know why people were talking about Aaron Rodgers.
Entertained. Yeah.
He talked himself out of New York with his commentary. I told somebody, you know what Aaron Rodgers was with the Jets? He was a Brett Favre 2.0.
Yeah.
He just need to get his ESPN contract and stop messing around. You already on McAfee. You use it as propaganda every chance you did.
The Jets did the same thing they did with Brett Favre. They brought Brett Favre to the Jets thing that he was going to be the savior. And they ended up selling tickets, and he did nothing and got banged up. And look what happened. Out of 2 years, he was gone. Aaron Rodgers, deja vu. It's like, when do the Jets learn from their mistakes of the past too? There are another ones. Like, didn't you learn this already with Brett Favre? You got Aaron Rodgers, and after that, what happened? He started running his mouth with the New York media. And as you know, in New York, when you start becoming the enemy of the media, you're gone. You don't play that. You can't talk about you can't talk like that around the New York media and think you're going to survive. And that's why I'm not surprised he was ousted. So,
well, you're definitely not going to be ousted. We don't. That's not what we do here.
I know.
You're a guest in my home. But of all the wonderful, beautiful work you're doing, tell people how they can catch up with you, how they can follow you out there.
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and I still call it Twitter. I know it's called X now. Lyle Multimedia is my handle on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook, Michael Lyle Jr., my full name there. And I'm also on LinkedIn. So I have 4 social media platforms I use regularly. And that's all the social media, in my opinion, I need. So follow me on one of those 4 platforms. I check them regularly. That's where you can find me.
And he gets so many wonderful comments. The people love him out there in Colorado. Tristan, we going to sign up and do this thing again for episode 145, okay? Keep answering my phone calls. You don't have a choice. Anyways, as I say it every week, it's not, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't rhyme, it's still mine. Mike, thank you. I am Mikkel, like Kevin McHale America. Good night. Peace.
Night. Peace.